I recently purchased a Hornby Thomas as I needed one for a video intro related to powering toy trains via the tiny Bachmann Gandy Dancer. The Hornby Thomas is a lovely looking model and it's very nicely detailed, but lacks the actual Thomas shape Bachmann do brilliantly. So I bet you're asking, why did I buy Hornby considering where I live both models are easily available? I chose Hornby because I witnessed in another video review it could pull 11 coaches with a total weight of 1,540 grams, while Bachmann could only manage 5 coaches weighing a total of 700 grams. That's a huge difference in haulage capacity in anyone's books. My purchase was made considering performance over looks, but to my astonishment, my Hornby Thomas fails to perform. As any curious boy would do, I decided to get my trains out, which hadn't been played with since the early 80s, and give Thomas a test. I had 6 made in England Hornby coaches, and they must have been in shock being given a spin after all these years. And the weight of these coaches is 745 grams, or that's 1 pound 10.3 ounces. Now let's look and listen at how Thomas performs pulling this train. My Hornby Thomas is struggling to pull this train. Its wheels are pounding the rails. If I keep this up, all I'll have is a burnt out wreck. So next, I set some weight challenges for Thomas to see exactly what he could pull. I rolled up some lead sheeting and found an old freight car so I could have combined weights of 1,500 grams, that's 3 pounds 4.8 ounces, 1,000 grams, that's 2 pounds 3.3 ounces, 500 grams, that's 1 pound 1.6 ounces. Let's see if my Thomas can move the 1,500 grams as skis could perform. Only by adding 500 grams to Thomas, he's able to move this, but he can't corner. Okay, now for the 1,000 grams. Again, Thomas fails in forward or reverse. It's only by adding 500 grams to Thomas he's able to move. And of interest, there's a combined weight of 1,500 grams. Now 500 grams, and away he goes, comfortably. But that's 1,000 grams less than Ski's Hornby Thomas performance. So what's going on here? Why is my Thomas only comfortable with 500 grams? Let's go back to that 6-car train and see if one of my very old, clapped out, inner city 125s can pull that load easily. There's one thing this old timer has that my Thomas hasn't, and that's traction tyres. I find it amazing these little rings of rubber can command so much haulage capacity. Sure enough, Ski points to his traction tyres, but when I look at my Thomas model, there's none. And this had me reading the manual which came with this model, and it makes for some interesting reading. Traction tyres. The 2 centre driving wheels are fitted with rubber traction tyres to provide maximum hauling power. Well, Mr. Hornby, I'm sorry for this major revelation. There's nothing on my Thomas which looks like a traction tyre. I really feel like bundling this up and sending it straight back to your factory, somewhere in China. And I'm old enough to remember a time when your product came from another place. But hey, they were the good old days, and the world's a different place today. I purchased my Hornby Thomas as a complete train set as I felt that presented the greatest value, considering it was only double the price of a single Thomas model. I found my troublesome truck had some very early troubles as his hook was detached, and I found it later floating around in the box. So even before I am playing, I am repairing these models. So here's Thomas with his passenger and freight rolling stock, which Thomas easily powers round my custom layout. Another disappointment was the train controller, which has two strange features. First, the forward and reverse is locked out while the trains are in motion. Sure, I can see why that's there, and it's to stop sudden shock loading to a train in motion. But the second, and I feel most annoying, is after even a slight derailment, the controller reads this as a short circuit and shuts down for anywhere between 1 to 4 minutes. This will test any child, as they will not be prepared to wait this timeout period. It certainly tested my patience. And I tried everything to force a reset of this annoying feature. This lockout was coming from the train controller and not the power supply. This had me doing some reading at the Hornby Railway's Jargon Buster, so let's do some reading again. So direct from the Hornby Jargon Buster under C is controller, an instrument controlling the speed and direction of a model locomotive by means of variable resistance, variable transformer, or by an electric circuit. And cutout, a safety switch which cuts the electrical supply in the event of a short circuit or overload. Modern cutout switches can often be reset by pressing a button. So Mr. Hornby, here's a very basic question. Where is the modern cutout switch on your modern train sets? And sure, this set comes with some warnings and details in the instruction manual about the controller. And you've addressed the delay which happens when there's a short circuit. Why now do we have to suffer a time penalty when we have a simple short circuit or derailment? Surely in this modern era we can have safety switches which have reset buttons. So let's have a look at what I grew up with, and here's my train controller from the late 70s. As bad as it is to do, I can change directions when the power is applied, and power on after severe short circuits have been applied to the tracks. I never had to suffer the delays which is induced by your modern controller I found in this set. I did enjoy the vast amount of posters and paperwork, but I found the plastic layout sheet reminded me of a Google map of a model train layout. I love perusing the vast amount of trains, rolling stock and accessories available for purchase. All this is great eye candy if you have train eyes. I'm really hoping discussions here in this video will shine some light on the items I've detailed. Surely, the great hobby of model railways shouldn't be made so difficult.